Almost every bee coming back has pollen. Mostly yellow. I did see some red. There's some almost white there. It's supposed to be about 70 degrees on Monday. I think Tuesday as well. Just a red pollen. This is hive 1. Quite a bit of activity. Not sure if I'll include the previous video I did this morning, but these were empty before, so they're moving resources around, I would think. I doubt that that's from something they're finding right now. But hive 1. I usually just change it and then show you after 3 days, but after about a month, this is what it looks like. It's usually not too bad. It does start to get a little bit moldy, but this can almost last about 3 months before you have to absolutely change it. This time of year, though, you get a little more condensation. But I just wanted to share what it looked like. That's our hive 1. This is hive 2, or 1.5, sorry. Never did propolize that shut, but they're in here. They're alive. Not as many as the other hive, but this is not insulated, so there may be a different spot. I'm still seeing honey on these outside edge frames. Doesn't get a lot of condensation. The clear is condensation anytime you see that. And you can see this over here. This is on capping, and then this is probably where the brood is being raised, where the cluster's hanging out. Need some dead small hive beetles, so as the temperature gets colder too, the small hive beetles can't stay in the cluster, and sometimes it gets cold enough that they die. This is hive 2, just pulled the cover off. A little bit of condensation in the edges, seeing some molding along the edge of the frames. Some moisture, looks like it's about to drop. There's bees in here. I'm seeing them on all these seams. So they're probably okay. Humidity's been rather high in this one, and I don't know if that's because of this gasking is not insulating this enough, and this is some thermal bridging going on here, making this too cold. So the warm air is touching this cold edge and making it condensate, but I may consider pulling this off on either 2 or 3 just to see if the humidity begins to drop. We're not done with the winter yet. The bees are just getting moisture wherever they can right now. Getting from the condensation here. You can see where the cluster is in that corner. Was able to level the hive out so we don't have a low spot anymore. It's getting a little moldy, so we'll get that taken care of. Hive 3, same thing. We've got mold along there. Yeah, what I'm seeing here too, because it got me a little curious. These frames are a little higher, and they're almost touching that inner cover. I wonder if I'm getting a good enough gasket of this thing pushing shut. See, this is wet, and of course that could be the rain. Just wonder if there's a gap down here, just letting cold air in. The one thing about these boxes, they're the gap, the top of the frame is kind of flush with the top of the box, so anything sticking up, that could be an issue. Bees seem to be doing okay in here, it's just humidity's high. There's got to be a reason for that. I think I will pull the inner cover on this box and just go down to the regular insulated inner covers that are made for it. I won't be able to see the bees, but we'll just see if the humidity drops, see if that makes a difference. Quite full of condensation. Yeah, quite a bit of condensation there. I don't know why there's a couple bees in there, but you can kind of see the edge of the screen part is why there's dark along the edge. This one had that wax moth that died. There was only one in there. This is hive 4. Hive 4 had a usurpation swarm in front of it. They killed the queen, but I think a lot of the bees ended up going in here. So this is a pretty big colony. Bees are up here. We We've had a lot of cold weather too, so the amount of brood in here is probably really minimized. The cluster's off to one side, it appears. Nothing strange, just starting to get a little bit moldy. This is hive 5. Oh, maybe. This is a triple deep. These are way up here. So I'm gonna fast forward you a little bit on the history of this hive. I did have a little tiny swarm, July 3rd. I think I started doing a video on that. I was gonna follow up and show how it grew, and I may still go back and do that, but this hive ended up going queenless. That queen seemed to do good after I gave her a little bit more frames and boosted her, and they did a newspaper combine on top of this hive, and that's who's in here now. It was a swarm that we caught in the July 3rd, and she got a lot of room, and she's still surviving, so they're not good. Small hive beetles died there. Looks like all the activity's on the left side here. And there's a fair amount of condensation in there. All right, hive 6, not opened it yet. My prediction is there's gonna be a few bees, but not a lot. This is the one that I'm really concerned that the cluster can make it through. There's some in there. They'll probably make it through. They won't be very strong. So I will not select anything from hive 6 to breed with for breeding purposes. I'll need to still make those selections as we get closer to grafting time and splitting. This is hive 6. Hive 6 it's not losing weight like I think it should. I'm worried they're having some issues inside. Not a lot of condensation in here. The size of the cluster looks like it may be relatively small, so be careful of that. A lot of small hive beetles died in there though, so I'm not sure about that one. Hive 7 on insulated control. I bet you they're doing pretty good. Yeah, they're doing great actually. Again, they are not insulated, so I just need to keep an eye on the weights. Make sure they're not eating up all their stores. So one issue with the uninsulated ones, they get through the stores a lot quicker. This is our hive 7. This is our control. It's on insulated. And their cluster is mostly pretty small on that side too. A little bit of condensation. A lot of small hive beetles dropped in here. Well, a lot for this time of year. There's not a lot of activity, so these were ones that were trying to overwinter in the colony that dropped and died probably because it got too cold. Just happened to see this bee here. She's got red pollen on her. She's also got it on her nose, on her head there. It must have snapped on her, or it was just releasing a lot of pollen. It's pretty cool. It's Nuke 16, just looking in the box. There's some bees in there, not a lot, but they seem to be doing okay. This is our Nuke 16. It's got a fair amount of condensation in it. Moldy there, and looks like the cluster is on the south side, which is on the right side. Don't see many small hive beetles, but this oil definitely needs changed. Condensation makes the oil go bad pretty quickly. Nuke 17, I couldn't even guess if the bees are up here or not. It's pretty warm. I would think they may be, but probably not a lot. Oh, there are some bees. A lot of condensation. Look at all that condensation. There are some bees up here though. I'm sure you can see them right here. A lot of condensation. Some of this is above. The insulation isn't very tight on there, so it looks like it's happening up here. Some of it's on top and a lot of it's below. And since this is a narrow hive, you know, you would kind of, the cluster's obviously in the middle, but you don't know if they're, what box they're in without looking at a thermal imaging camera. But small hive beetles dropped in that as well, which is good. This is our Nuke 21. A lot of bees in there. This is uninsulated as well, so could be why we have so much condensation. It's just a lot of bees in there putting off heat. This one does have a scale on it. It is one of the lower weights that we have, but it doesn't have a slatted rack. It has a different bottom board, and it doesn't have a wood outer cover. So it's got a little bit of a weight disadvantage just based on equipment. Not really disadvantage. The weight is not the same as the other hives, so it's hard for me to really judge. Compare it to what we have on the other ones. Ooh, wow. This is almost to the top, so there's tons of condensation in this. This is our Nuke 21. And you can see the clusters still hanging out in the middle, hanging out around the middle. And there's a fair amount of condensation, so it must be a strong cluster to have that much condensation. N10, Nuke 10, overwintered hive 7 queen. Look at all of those bees. Wow. I hope they're not eating through their reserves, but they're doing great. And that's the same queen that we did a lot of grafting from last year because she built up so fast. This is our Nuke 10. This is our overwintered queen from hive 7. Did a lot of grafting from her. Condensation here. Clusters obviously to one side. Small hive beetles have dropped. Not seeing anything concerning at this point. And last is Nuke 12. Just came from a swarm about a block away. Bees in every seam there. Don't see any condensation or any issues. Seem to be doing fine. Usually finding less stuff is more concerning than finding more stuff this early in the year. And looks like the cluster's hanging in the middle. Kind of towards the back is way a little bit more there, but it looks like their cluster's mostly in the middle. Condensation's happening here. Starting to see some stuff that kind of looks like wax moth frass, but I don't see any larvae. I do see dead small hive beetle. It's gonna be a warm day, and bees seem to know it. There's a lot of pollen out there. A lot of yellow pollen coming in. Just completely loaded up too. February 19th. It is 19 degrees outside and it feels like it's 6 degrees. We got, it looks like an inch, at the most an inch and a half of snow, but it had some sleet come down before it, so our roads are all icy here. But I'm sure the bees are probably okay. But it was pretty warm the other day. I think we hit 72 on Saturday, and then it dropped almost 40 degrees, 38 degrees that day. Now we're down into the teens, and we'll be in the single digits, I think, tomorrow night. But obviously no action, but I'll try to get my thermal imaging camera out here today and take a look, and we'll just kind of look where the clusters are. Now our internal temperatures really tell us where the clusters are, but we can confirm it with the thermal imaging camera, and that gives you guys something to see. Walking out towards the hives here. It's interesting, when I stepped in the snow, the friction of compacting the snow heated up my footprints. Not a lot, but enough that you can see where I walked. Be interesting for tracking different animals. Oh wow, okay. This is our Nuke 17. This is the one that's obviously a nuke. Clusters down here, but there's a lot of heat up there as well. Interesting. I'll go on that a little bit just to see if it's... Oh wow, yeah, cluster's still working up into the second box. Again, this is a 5-frame nuke. See our greenhouse back there, putting out some heat. This is our Nuke 21, I believe it is. They have a lot of population, and they're pretty high in that box, and they're relatively light, so to keep an eye on that. This is our Nuke 10. was our original Hive 7 overwintered queen. We did a lot of grafting from, and she's actually going through her second winter. And their cluster's relatively low, it appears. So looking down here, the box is 18.6, 19 degrees, but looking about here, it's 34, 35. This is me 12. They're from a swarm that was caught about a block away. And their cluster is pretty high up there, so don't have a scale on that one, so it'll have to be one of the first ones that we check when things warm up. I think in a couple weeks we'll probably be through most of the cold, but we'll see. This is our insulated Nuke 16. You can see the heat coming out of the entrance. Kind of hard to see where the cluster is. That bright light is not actually heat, it's actually the foil, and it's reflecting the light, so kind of hard to tell what's going on there. And then that little flash right there in the middle is actually blue tape. It's just, see that goes away depending on which direction I have the angle on it. It's not heat, it's just reflection, probably a reflection of my heat. Yeah, that's a reflection of my heat. Interesting. And then here's Hive 7. This is our control hive. This is uninsulated. You can see my reflection on that upper cover there. And they're pretty much in the upper box at this point. It can be hard to see where that cluster is. They're insulated pretty well. This is Hive 5. It's triple deep, but my insulation wraps are only for 2 deep, and then the 3rd deep is kind of exposed here. It shows it's pretty warm, but it's 15.2. Looks like I'm getting a warm spot of 18.3, which is nothing compared to the one behind me that was 34. They're most likely up in the middle box at this point. Hive 4. Interesting. That little, where I'm pointing to, that 16, 17 degrees, there must be a little gap in the insulation. That maybe it didn't get compressed all the way, but most of that 17, 16, not much of a huge difference. It's visually you can see the difference, but when you put that 19 versus 17 on there, it's only a couple degrees, so it's actually way better than some of these other ones. And this is our fully insulated hive. This is the Lyson. So right in the center we got 16.7, 17.9, and in that handhold's 20 degrees. So yeah, I wish the handholds were not that deep. It looks like they are moving up though, because this handhold down here is cooler. So they're probably up in this upper box now. But again, these other ones were 34 degrees. 15 degrees is not too far off of our fully insulated one. It's just the handles that really are leaking some heat, but for not having to put the insulation on and off, it may be a fair trade-off. Wow, look at that pin glow. So again, that was my concern. So this Hive 3, I took out the inner cover with the gasket, so you can see a little bit of heat kind of in this little area here coming out, but this one still has the gasket, so you can see a lot of heat coming out right here. So that probably was my condensation issue on the inside, and we'll look at the hive humidity to see if they've changed very much. But let's see what that temperature is. That is 18.4, whereas the handle is 17.9 or 18, so I guess it's not that bad. But look at this slatted rack though, it's like glowing. It is 21 degrees. Pretty crazy. And that's probably just the woodenware. It's probably warmed up so much that it's radiating down. This is Hive 1.5, and this is uninsulated. Looks like they're mostly in the upper. This glow that you're seeing right here, the notch in the inner cover has a piece of foam in it and some tape over it. It's at 21 degrees, 19, Yeah, the one behind us was 34 degrees, so they were really warm. So these must have clustered pretty quickly already. Our hive 1, fully insulated. Well, sorry. It's a woodenware with my DIY insulation. You can see a little bit of heat radiating out there. Of course, that could just be my reflection again. Yeah, that's the foil. And you can kind of tell that by putting the temperature right on it. That's about where that notch is. So we got 26 degrees coming out where that notch is. Everything else is 16. Pretty steady all the way down. A little bit of 18, but hard to see exactly where that cluster would be. We have access to almost all of it. But yeah, I think we got a little... That's a big temperature difference right there. Take a look at that a little bit closer and see if we can get that closed up in case it's causing condensation. Just to overall look at all of them. Sometimes when they're all on one screen, they kind of, yeah, look at that. So you can see the glow at the bottom of the uninsulated one. You see the glow of the uninsulated one. You can see their glow. Kind of behind the tree, but it's got a little glow to it. That one's really glowing there. I probably need to check that one and that one. This is Nuke 21 and this is, I'm calling Nuke 12 just for honey stores. This one had a lot of bees in it, but you got to make sure they're not starving out. They do have a scale on them, and they are the one that's under or right about 100 pounds, but they don't have a slider rack. They have a different bottom board. They don't have a wooden outer cover either, so your weight should still be okay, but I need to check that pretty soon. Okay, today is February 20th. Temperature's 12, but it feels like -3. Just trying to get a look at these hives real quick before the sun gets on them too much. Even that warm spot's only about 9 degrees. You can see it's still there. 10 degrees. The sun's up, so it's starting to warm this side of the box, which is good for the bees. And even the back here is starting warming up. Pretty cold. I think it was 34 or something before, so the longer they're exposed, the goes down. Oh, that's interesting. The shadow of the trees on the box. Look at it from this side. 24 on the sunny side. Insulated one. Ooh, it's cold. I mean, it shows as warmer than down here. So you get about 5 degrees. It's about 12 degrees, but man, that's not much difference. This is showing 2.5, 3 degrees. So you can see that opening in there. About 10 degrees. This is fully insulated. I wouldn't really expect it to show too much heat there. Ooh, they're cold. 7. That's about the outside temperature. Again, the sun's hitting that side, so 9, 11, with the sun hitting it. It's up about 9 or 10 degrees. That's the black strap, black strap right there. This is, you can see the edge of the shadow here. 11 degrees. This is the shadow of hive 5 onto this hive. 10 degrees here in the sun at 16. This hive is pretty much fully in the shadow right now. Our handles aren't even glowing that much. They are a little warmer. Maybe it's the fence is throwing off my 16, 15, 15. So, not sure if you can tell or not, but I am standing in the shadow of a tree, and the sun's hitting the fence, and the sun's hitting that hive, part of that hive. So it throws the thermal imaging camera range out, kind of out of whack. So for me to actually get what this looks like, I'd have to be really close to it, so that stuff's not in the background. Let's look at the shady part just for reference. 15, 18 at the handle, 14 there. Look over here at the sunny part. The sun warms them up pretty quick. That's a black gasket there, so sun's catching that. Just checking in the shade there. It's about 16, 28, and that's sun hitting this. This is all insulated, so there shouldn't be too much of a difference. It's crazy. The sun's out now too, so it may be blowing up the camera range. Same view as the thermal imaging camera, just kind of showing what you just saw there. It was really cold, so this is actually snowed over. I didn't even look to clear that. I'm gonna clear that just enough to get a little air in there. That should be enough. That's crazy. But some of these, I saw that there's bees out here. And there's just a handful. This one though, I had about a dozen bees that got thrown out or flew out. Not sure why. These little overhangs that I put on here keep the snow from building up down there. Of course, that doesn't have a ledge or anything, but that one I must not have pushed it out enough, or it was just really high. So I'll poke a hole in that just to make sure that that opens up so they can fly when they need to. It's supposed to warm up in the upper 60s next week, or actually just in a few days, so this shouldn't be an issue. A couple bees came out there. That one's iced over. It's an uninsulated one. That cover must not have been hanging over enough. I guess the insulation is doing most of the covering for these entrances. Looks like a couple bees got tossed out there. A couple bees tossed out there. Some here. See, this one got a little iced over. Again, this does not have an overhang. Where those two? Just keep an eye on that, but it seems like it's melting. So I'm not gonna mess with that at all. A few bees out here. Some out here, some out there. On the ground. That's where we are. Again, I think my biggest concern is that hive, Nuke 12 and Nuke 21, due to where the heat was and their weights. Well, that one's weight and that one where the heat was. So we'll see how things are when it warms up. It is 21 degrees outside and I just heard a bee fly by me. Looking at some interesting things here. There's condensation occurring, obviously, in this hive, and it must be overflowing the oil trays. See some icicles happening there. A lot of the snow is melting, which is good. To get that off there, off the hives. The snow's okay because it acts as an insulator, but you know it's going to warm up. It's also can just be a little ice cube on top of your hive, so don't necessarily need all that. So putting this on top keeps water from being in along the edges here too. So as this is melting out, it's going down through the little flutes in here and making icicles. So that's why I have it on there. It's just this one's so tall that the top, this stuff is blowing off. Looks like all their ice is melted off. Oh, there's a bee right there. Hopefully she realized how cold it is and goes back in. And she decided to fly out. I hope she makes it back. It is cold. Well, she flew out. Oh. She is. But yeah, this is the one I saw some bees on the ground here. exactly what's happening there. Let's see, dead bee there too. Maybe they're getting out on the snow. Let me see if I can clear this snow here. So if they get out, maybe they won't get too chilled. That'll melt. It's there too. Look at that. See the icicles inside? That's crazy. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. See some dead bees inside there. If I change the I don't know what that is. I'm making it brighter. Yeah, that's crazy. Does this one have it? That one doesn't appear to have anything like that in it. Open that up, but I don't see much activity there. We'll see. It's been cold for a while. It's still gonna be cold, I think, another day, and it'll start warming up again. This is Friday, February, later in the day, and there's bees out flying. It's 31 degrees out here right now. Feels a little warmer than that in the sun, but they're out flying. It looks like they were just getting water and stuff. This one is partly insulated, so I don't know if that makes them think they can get out, but some of them are getting out just fine and making their way back, so it's pretty cool. And then, not just that hive, my board's also doing this. Check this out. They're all here trying to get water. When it's cold, the humidity is very low, so there's not a lot of condensation. Hive 1 down there is flying. 1.5 is not insulated, but it is not flying. Hive 2 is insulated, but it is not flying. 3 is not flying. Interesting. So 1, 4, and 5 are flying. I just saw another one come in down here. This is 6. 6, the temperature's dropped pretty low. I'm kind of concerned about this hive. Possibly queenless or something like that. 7, nuke 16. I just saw a bee right at the entrance of that one. Not sure if you saw that one or not. But, oh, there she is. She's just in there. Maybe she's just doing some cleaning. This hive had a fair amount down at the bottom. There's a handful just inside that little entrance there, so I may be cleaning them out. Yeah, so on a day like today, knowing that it's above freezing today, the ground's really soft, but tomorrow all the snow's gonna melt off, so probably be fine to take these, get the snow off the top of these that don't have it. A lot of the bees look like they're out here just getting the moisture off of them. So just leave it on there, let it melt. Yeah, it's crazy. It's 31. So I think I read somewhere that the longer it's been very cold, the more likely they're willing to come out at colder temperatures, just so that they can go to the bathroom. It is February 23rd. It is 47 degrees, so all the bees should be flying, and they sure are. Look at all of those bees outside. If I could show you our cars, you'd see all the yellow spots all over all of them too. Hopefully they'll get all their cleansing flights out. That is amazing. Almost expecting to have some chilled brood in that hive, but I don't. I've got gloves on because I'm working on my car right now. That hive didn't have a lot of population, but they seem to be doing okay. Hive 5 is rocking. Bringing anything in. It's just one of the bathrooms. A lot of them just flying out and circling. 4, 3, 2, 1.5 and 1. 1.5's got a lot. 4's got a lot. 3's got a good amount. 2's got some. 1.5. I've seen about a handful of bees come and go so far. We're sending more out. Looks like so far we're at 100% survival. I'm hoping that was our last cold snap, but judging from years past, the middle of March would be the hardest one that we've had, but typically the end of February, beginning of March, we get a snow or ice storm, and we're not past that point yet, so I'm not gonna get too overly optimistic at this point. It's February 26th, 70 degrees, it got up to 74. A lot of these girls are bringing in pollen. Pretty much all the hives. Just a big cloud to our west, so the sun sort of went behind a cloud, but still seeing a lot of the bees coming and going. Lots of big yellow pollen sacs. Just coming and going there. There's not a lot of activity. That's the one I'm most concerned about. The hive temperatures are a little bit lower than brood rearing temperature, so thinking their cluster is very small. Maybe they're off to one side. It should be okay. 5 is doing good. Look at all of them coming in. A little bit of pollen. 1 is jamming over there. 1.5 is good. 2's good. 3's good. 4's good. They seem to be doing well. Some Linton roses blooming. Chicken's going crazy. It's February 28th. All of our bees are flying. What I noticed is, hopefully you can see this. This is a silver maple, but it's got red buds on it, but they're all open. So that's our big tree. The other tree hasn't started yet. One next to it. It's just starting there, so. But that's full on bloom right there. It's supposed to be 33 tonight, but hopefully after that we don't have any more freezes, but we'll see. Just a little early in the year to guess what the weather's gonna be. Here's something odd, and I may just be, I'm not sure what this is, but this joint, looks like the paint cracked a little bit, and look at all this that dripped down here. And then on this side, it's like the same, it's this joint. It's just run down the hive. I don't know what that is. It's crazy. This hive too, I haven't really been keeping track of it, but this is one where they're shoving the propolis in and lifting the box up. I'm not sure if you can see in there or not, but they're actually lifting the box apart because of the amount of propolis that's in there. I tried to document that last year, but they didn't really lift the box, but this year they're lifting that box right up. Sometimes they do it between the inner covers, but it's usually not that bad.